Hi, welcome to the School Live. Hashtag School, SKOOL Live. I'm Christo, and I talk about the business of design. And?
I'm Jose Caballer, and I talk about the design of business. Like, we got it right.
We got it right, dude. Let's just take those little victories when we get them.
So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about translating strategy to design.
And that's a topic that a lot of you have been asking about. You've been asking us, hey, you know, you guys have all this strategy stuff, but how do you make that into design, and how do you make all the decisions? We have a lot of people on the set. And
we do. Let's acknowledge who they are.
So, Vincent.
Yay! Yay! Hey, there's a live studio audience. Woo!
Product designer from RISD.
Nicole.
Nicole.
That's a pity clap. Pity clap right there.
Nicole gets no love.
Yeah, Nicole gets no love. Who's a lyrical gangster. That's her job. Her
wow.
Andrew. Nobody claps for him. Camera operator.
I'm so sorry. Hey, I clap for you, so make me look good. Don't worry about him.
Hey, Boise, who's our guest today.
Boise. And behind the camera, as always.
Camera.
Oh, did we do Andrew?
No,
yeah, we did. Double? No, don't double dip, dude. Come on. And then behind him, directing this episode from behind the machine, is Ty. And helping us out with audio is Adam.
Awesome.
He's excited about himself.
But also we have a live, we're live, so you guys on Twitter, the School Live, it's a hashtag. So School Live is a hashtag, so get on Twitter.
So Nicole, you'll be monitoring if any of our 4 viewers are going to ask any questions, right?
16 now.
We're up to 16. Woo!
Thank you guys for watching very much.
Thank you.
You're lying, aren't you? Oh, wow.
All right, 16. So
let's do it.
It was. You pushed him over the edge.
Boise's tweet.
He's got a huge following of 3.
Okay. Let's keep on going here.
Let's get into the show here.
So strategy to design. Chris, you got some questions from a friend.
Yep.
And you got an opportunity to talk. And she asked some really basic questions. So let's start really at the basics.
Let's jump in there. So if we can cue that, where do I begin? Because she's been watching what we've been doing. She's looked at the kit, the webinar, and all that stuff. So her position is very much, I'm a designer. You guys are talking about strategy. I'm starting to get a sense of what it is that I need to do. But words are not my thing. So how do I articulate my ideas? How do I use the marketing speaker lingo, if you will?
Right. I mean, and people like you, even though you're not that obnoxious, you did sell well at school. Meaning when you were in design school, you know the people in design school that can talk about their work?
Yes.
Like, here, check it out.
Oh, I can present and articulate my ideas.
Yeah. Right. So words are really important.
They are.
So I think that one of the biggest challenges, or one of the basic kind of things to think about, is that we're visual people, but other people that are not, they articulate things in words. I want X. So I think that the idea is that reality, or what the reality will be, occurs in language.
All right.
So this is how we need to begin.
Right. So let me show you this slide here.
Has anybody seen that yet?
No. They did.
Okay, great.
So the first thing that you need to do is you have to be really honest with yourself and ask, who am I designing this for? Is it for me, or is it for my client? I think a lot of designers get into this space where they have an aesthetic approach, and we talked about this before. If you have a very strong style and your site or your portfolio is of a singular kind of point of view,
correct,
it's okay to assume that the clients came to you for that particular
point
style.
Of view. And I call that the designer as artist, or the designer as brand.
Who do we know like that?
If you hired Shepard Fairey,
there you go.
Gotta look like Shepard Fairey.
That's what they expect.
If you hired, PlayStation, which is he used to be really big in the
E-Boy,
any of those companies.
We're dating ourselves now.
We're dating ourselves, yeah. But there are others like that they get hired for that vision. But if you are like us and you are an evil designer, no, not evil. That's the wrong way to say it. No, look, most designers are service providers. We basically do this for our clients. It doesn't mean that our voice is not in it. Right. My voice is always in my work. But my voice has become the ability to translate their ideas into reality in a way that matches who they are.
Right.
So I'm more of a medium, of a facilitator between their vision and what it actually gets output.
Okay. So most designers are in that space, Jose, where they've got a smattering of different kinds of work, different clients,
logo,
different styles.
Brochure, website.
And so then when a client hires them, they think you hired me because I'm amazing and I'm just going to do my thing. But that's where we run into lots of trouble.
Which is right, and which is true and not true. People do hire you for your portfolio, but their logo is theirs, not yours. That's my point of view. It's not your
You're starting to sound
logo.
like me now.
Yeah, okay.
Are you sure?
What about if you have passion and you actually really want to do All right, forget it.
All right, forget about that.
I'm not going to try to counter.
All right, so anyways, so let's now say that we're going to design for the client. So we need to understand what the client wants. So here's my next slide. So as we know, ideas are abstract. They kind of stay in your brain, and once you commit things to Word, they become much more concrete. So my suggestion is start with a list. Everything that's complex can be broken down to a much smaller bite-sized piece, right? So here are some examples. What's the goal of this project? How would you describe your customer? What are your biggest challenges? And how will you measure success? Like if you're building a website, how will you figure out if this is going to work? Is it about selling more products? Is it about creating a higher fidelity customer experience? What is it about? So let's make a list, right? And then what I do then is the list that's created, and this happens to be from core under culture. So here's my list, and the list has been pared down to 5 key words from a list of maybe 15 or 20 words.
Well, here's what I like about what you do and how we've experienced it. I have the tendency to, and you can bring the camera back to us, I have the tendency to do it a little bit more freestyle and like do the basic strategy definition and then let the Holy Spirit do the rest. Even though there's a little bit of a tit for tat that occurs, or like, here's what we did now, and then here's what we're doing next. Here's what we did now, here's what we're doing next. Mm-hmm. You actually tie it in really tightly, like into where you know exactly why the next thing is going to be the way it is, and how you're articulating.
I'm very logic driven.
You're very logic driven.
I'm Spock.
Which is great. Which is live long and prosper. Yes, you must. But the reason I'm pointing that out is that whether you're a designer like me and you're kind of like super flaky, or you're less like logical and process oriented, or if you're like you and you're very logical, you can still put the things down on paper. Like, here's the 5 questions and your answers, and show that to the client. Because the client just needs a frame of reference that it was said before, and then you move on to the next one. It's like a breadcrumb. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect as long as each step in the strategy process gets articulated.
Okay.
Your first set of questions is the base, it's the foundation. Then you move on to doing some other exercises where you define, and if you guys haven't been watching the other episodes, what is strategy or selling strategy, or you haven't been following along, and this is the first time you're living under a rock, and this is the first time you tune into this episode.
Yeah, you must be, because there's only 24.
There's been millions of people who have seen this.
Millions.
Millions.
We're about to break YouTube.
But the point is that if you're not as familiar, the way that we do strategy, or actually it's not even us, it's a universal way of doing it, is defining who the entity is, the brand itself, the idea, in one way or the other, however you choose to do it is fine. Defining who the customers are, like the marketing people, the marketing data, and defining the goals, the business goals. Those are the basic 3 things that you want.
Those are basic.
Yeah.
I want to.
You can do competitors, you can do all this other stuff, but just the basics.
I want to just bring up a different point. The reason why you want to commit to words is because you want to remove the arbitrariness, the subjectivity of whether something works for yourself and for your client.
Totally.
Right? So once you define something, and I've had clients say this to me before, it doesn't feel right. I'll know it when I see it. And those are very scary words to hear from a client. It means they don't know what they want.
Yeah.
So rather than take that approach and spend countless rounds of iterating, hopefully you're getting paid for that, but oftentimes you're not.
Most of the time you're not.
So
most of the time you're
forget
not.
about whether or not we like to articulate ourselves with words or not. You kind of have to have some kind of defined goal that makes the creative process more objective. So when you're looking at my process, it's very linear, and it's point A leads us to point B. It's a very logical flow.
Yeah.
Because when I present an idea, it's like, well, you want to be this. If that statement is true, then visually it needs to look like that. And that's what we really want to jump in today.
Let's do that. Let's jump into it. And we're going
right.
to show you guys how we each do it.
Okay.
Chris is going to show you the Spock Live Long and Prosper version, and I'm going to show you the
James Kirk,
the Taurus,
Holy Spirit.
James Kirk. Just set the foundation and plow through
Go
it.
with your gut.
Like, woo! Like, I get through with just charisma and just reminding the client, remember what we said in the last meeting? Here's what you said, and here's what we're presenting to you. And they're like, yeah, they just don't say anything.
Okay. So any questions thus far from our
Vincent is laughing.
16 so people and like 18?
It's early. Let's start showing our work.
All right, wait.
Yes.
Okay, there's a question already. All right.
How do you create your strategy on paper or in some software? By Veteran Linux.
Thank you for your question, Vedrick. How do you create your strategy on paper?
How do you create your strategy?
For your client, I'm assuming it's a question. Vedrick, the first thing you should do is actually keeping in mind that you don't know as much about the client. You want to ask them, and I don't know why I'm looking at your laptop like if I was looking at them. I can see
that
you.
logo is.
That's them. Yeah, let me look at the camera. That may be better. Basically, just work with them, ask them questions, and you write down like who their customers are. You write down who they are as a brand. You try to articulate that, and you also write down some of the you write down some of the goals that they have. We'll put a link below, and you can have. We'll give you some episodes and some videos that will help you do that.
Think about it this way: regardless if you believe in our framework or not, you need to have certain things defined in order to be able to design for them. And think about that. How are you going to come up with the designs that you do? How do you know that the messaging and tone is the correct tone? So ask questions that relate to that. I ask questions about how do we grow your business? What areas are you struggling with? Because with that, what are the challenges? Then I know what to work on. I know if I can solve that problem for the client, then...
Well, let's show him.
Okay, yeah, okay, all right.
Go.
Geez, thanks for cutting me.
Yeah, no.
You go on for like 10 minutes. I like to do 1 minute.
I don't go that long, dude.
Come on. Okay, yeah, you are getting better, but all right. It wouldn't be our show if you didn't cut me off after having taken up all the airtime. But and we go back to the, thank you. So I like to pick words that are visual, and then I like to translate these words into images, okay? So, and then I like to share these with the clients to perform a fit check. And this is where you can test out ideas really quickly without spending a lot of time. So grab some things together, and we refer to these as stylescapes. Other people call us swipe file or mood board or something like that. Whatever, right? So some of you guys who have tuned in before, this is a client that I'm working on, and they've given me permission to share everything that we're doing for the purpose of education, right?
They're big Trojan fans, USC.
Yeah, USC Trojan guys, and they have the storage.
Trojans.
This is what their current identity looks like. So Jose, under his creative direction, started to explore colors, graphics, kind of image style, photo references, all those kinds of things.
And this is, architects do this also. I mean, notice that we put the brand attributes, the words, organized, energy, integrated, all into the whole thing.
Where do those words come from?
Well, they came from the exercise that we did with them. We did the brand attributes exercise with them.
So from a list
that they came up with themselves.
Right. That you facilitated.
And then they chose the ones that were the finalists, not me.
Right. And so here's a couple more stylescapes. And now we're starting to take the logo, in which is still in kind of initial development. We're kind of applying it to something against a color field, typographic samples, a couple of websites we pull that kind of set the tone and the look for this.
You know something you said earlier about the person who you were answering questions for, where you talk to the client and then you go away and do logos. Do you notice something in our process that is actually a very gradual drop? So like we did some words with them in a session. Okay, great. In the next session, we come back, and it's a brief, reading them back the words, and we say, hey, what do you think about this stuff? And there's a video of us presenting the brief to the client, and they gave us feedback, and we made changes to the brief, and then we gave the brief to the designers, and then we did these 3 different boards. At every stage, there's
Why are you stepping farther away from me when you talk?
Because I'm making a point that's moving this way to the right. It's like the timeline is moving to the right.
All right, okay.
And I know I'm not on camera.
Yeah, all right.
But
whatever.
I'm just scared that you're going to like kung fu me.
No. Like I'm going to kick you or something?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, you're Asian. But the whole point is the point about when people ask, like, how do you translate design into strategy, is that the best way is to slowly and gently drop the person into the direction. That when you get into the logo, by the time you get into the logo, it's natural. It's like, yeah, that's totally it. There's no sudden surprise of like, oh my God, no, that's not right. Go back, and then you revise, go back, and then you revise. That's why people get into so many revision cycles, because they do this non-stunted, there's no foreplay. It's just like, boom, here's the logo, and then you go. Like,
You went sexual again.
No, I didn't. But you get the point. People get that metaphor. Get it?
What you're trying to do is you're trying to scaffold towards a solution.
Scaffolding, that's the one.
You call it foreplay, I call it scaffolding.
Whatever you want to call it. Yes, gradual drop.
Potato.
Potato.
You know, same word.
Right.
Scaffolding, basically taking steps with your client to the ultimate conclusion of where you're going.
Yep.
It keeps you in check. It eliminates a lot of unnecessary work, and you guys are building something together. It's a spirit of collaboration.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
I think there's a conference.
Keep on
about it.
showing.
Okay. Anyway, so ultimately, this is the logo we wound up with, and it is not a radical departure in terms of the idea, but the aesthetic of it is very different than where they started out with. They had something that looked like a lock, a keyhole, and all that stuff. We just found a simpler, more modern structure to kind of frame the words Trojan storage.
And it works really well. I mean, it works.
Really well.
It works for the target audience. It works for the client. It works really well.
So I'm going to show you this next slide here. So this one, now attribute 4 was how you make the customers feel. How do you make them
so
feel?
Secure was one of them.
Secure, relaxed.
You are a genius
important,
writing copy. You just put the attribute into the
informed.
copy.
No.
Secure.
No. I'm going to show you a magic trick.
Okay. Go.
Oh my God, I screwed up.
No, that's okay. Keep on going.
Okay, the word is secure. Screw that. So what they said is like, we want to make our clients feel secure, right? Now we need to find a voice.
Go to the next
the
one.
tone, right? So we can just take an idea like this, and then we write this.
Overprotective, you bet.
So instead of saying secure, which is what it is,
great.
we say overprotective. You bet.
You bet. Yeah.
Right.
And you're not a genius copywriter. You just basically listen to the client.
Stop pointing that out.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not insulting you, dude. Don't get
So
offensive.
here's another way. Here's the voice, right? It's warm, friendly, non-judgmental, empathetic, professional, attentive. And I think about that, and I think about the standards that they're setting. So the whole white glove concept, it's exceptionally high standards. It's a very clean space.
You know what I realized? This is like almost an automated how to do marketing for designers.
Yeah.
That's how we should.
Right. Oh, I know Christopher Tripp.
What's up, Christopher Tripp?
It is to assess the aesthetic while asking for a few examples of existing sites that the client resonates with, degrade from the value of the process since you're referencing existing sites.
Not at all. I mean, I'll show you, you saw actually in the brief for Trojan that we showed other competitors. Look, you're business people. You're going to look at the competition. You're going to look at what other things are out there. There's no question about that. Like if you're afraid of, here's the better part. For a designer, the reason why you want to do that is very simple. It's so that you don't make it look like a reference to something else, and so that you can prove to your client that it looks unique. Look, it looks unique. It looks different than the competition.
We're going to look at some other work to prove to them that it doesn't look like that work?
No, we don't want Trojan Storage to look like public storage.
Look, let's get over this
Orange.
thing. I'm going to just say this, and it may be a little bit controversial to some people.
Don't offend people, dude.
No, I'm about to.
Okay, do it.
Maybe.
No, go ahead.
There's this idea that you guys can do original work. Get over it, because you're not doing anything original, okay? That's the bottom line. You know Joseph Campbell?
You know what?
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me, I only got 1 sentence in.
Go, before I interrupt you.
Joseph Campbell, he started to look at story structures, right?
Yeah.
And how stories have endured over time. I think it's something referred to as the hero's quest or hero's journey.
The hero's journey, yeah.
And if you look into this, there's only 7 plot types in movies. Only 7. So you're only kidding yourself that the original idea.
Is that relevant to this conversation?
Is.
Now I'm Chris Doe.
No, it is totally relevant because what we're talking about is just understanding that there's a limited amount of different design aesthetics and things that you can use.
You can do. And they're all referential.
The only time, this is my caveat, the only time you do something new is when you introduce a new piece of technology. That's it. That's the only time you can create something new.
Totally
you can
agree.
go down the line from Picasso saying good artists borrow, great artists steal. I don't think it takes away from the process at all. Because you're only kidding yourself. You are a reflection of all your visual and cultural influences, period.
I'm going to add this to Chris Tripp. I personally use the process, the strategic process, and I'll show you how, to create something that's unique and something that is interesting. And I actually am able to wield it as a tool to put my voice across into what I think the client should do from a positioning standpoint, as long as I have support. So Chris is maybe a little bit more, linear in his logic, and that's why his clients are very business and very and my clients are like Al Gore, and my clients are very ephemeral, where his clients are a lot more concrete. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In addition to that, cutting the baby in the middle is that there's nothing new that gets created, but you're able to combine things.
Combine things.
Something new.
There's a whole video about this.
Through that.
On Vimeo, watch it.
Yeah. Can we put a link to it below? Can
yeah,
we make sure
can.
That we get the links to that? So the 2 things are, one to core, the other one to this. All right, let's move on. We're running out of time.
Okay. So here's another one. Here's another thing, and then I'm gonna turn it over to your slideshow.
Yeah.
This is my last one. So here's another thing. I'm just trying to find a fun tone and a vibe to talk about being secure and safe. And you actually wrote the original line, which was lights, camera safety. Lights, camera, safety. And the clients love that because it's kind of it throws you off.
Yeah.
Right? You take a line that's very familiar, but he's trying to talk about cameras and being safe and making people feel protected and having fun with it while not feeling like it's Big Brother watching you. When it's your stuff, you want lots of cameras watching it.
You know the insight that you just gave me from saying that? Because what we're doing is we're taking the brand attribute and adding it's in LA, let's make it a little bit funny, and I happen to be pretty damn funny. People might agree or disagree, but you're like, yeah, I'm just. But
2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down. So no. But what I was going to say was that there is there is a, back to the point, in design school, people use references to do their design, right? They look through the design manual.
They do.
And then they come back and they present,
They pretend
right?
like
they
they
pretend
didn't
like
look
it's their
at it.
idea, right?
Yeah,
They
of
pretend.
course.
We're in denial. We never looked at that. But then the reason why I think now the question of how do I do something original, what's my process to do that? If you look at every single amazing designer out there that you see in those annuals, all of them have some type of mysterious kind of like craft that they do, but it's very similar to what we're talking about.
You're just not aware of it.
It's either wordplay,
they're not being transparent about
it's
it.
references, art, and I'm going to show you art. So that's a good segue into what I'm saying.
Okay, so I'll switch over to yours.
So the challenge here was to do and I'll be Chris Doe, and I'll play.
You use my name interchangeably with lots of different concepts.
Well, no, because you're all like
about
ready
that. You're using my
enter
brand.
full screen. I'm misusing your brand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says "I am Chris Doe," and it's not. It'd be funny. You see, Andrew thinks it's funny. So I happen to have shown earlier at a webinar this case study for Veris and showing them the brief. Veris happens to combine two crazy things. It's an investment firm that's also about sustainability and the environment and very, very much 21st century kind of thing. So visionary, authentic, and mindful were three of their brand attributes. And one of the things that I asked during the preliminary interviews, I interviewed the CEO and the marketing VP and their top partners like if they were on a Hollywood show. Like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite artist? What's your house look like? Describe it to me. What I wanted to do was contextualize everything for them. So when they told me what artists they liked, I looked for the artists and I put them into the brief. So this is what one of their partners likes. Keep in mind, I also know that their clientele is high net worth individuals. High net worth individuals buy art and a lot of their self-expression, like Martha Stewart and the Hamptons. But here's the two dichotomies. You had Martha Stewart and the Hamptons, but all the partners are like ex-60, former 60s, boomers, and they're all. It's about wealth and being a hippie all at the same time. So for those two concepts to live together in an investment firm, how do we do that and represent the idea? So I'll fast forward real quick and bring the camera back to us because I'm going to actually exit the
Just hit exit.
the slideshow. Okay. Then let me show you in the design of the identity. You saw those paintings. So I said, can we use a painterly language to actually represent the idea of the logo? So I'll fast forward. Go ahead and show my stuff again. I'll fast forward to some of the logo explorations, and here it is. So there's logo explorations.
Wait, you went too fast. What?
Right. So here's some logo explorations, right? Some different directions. This one is more leafy, right? So this is more green and like environment, right? It's a little bit more expected, and it's similar to what they already had. So what if
the leaf idea was just an evolution of their thing, just like
it was
the
an evolution of
lot
their
was an evolution.
Exactly.
Got it.
But I said, consider the possibility that so back to the painting, that you can do something very painterly, like a little swatch of a painting that represents, and then you saw the Martha Stewart landscape, like the beach and then the thing, but that also represents the idea of not just the side view of the earth, but also investing. Investing is like layers upon layers of time, like compounding interest and protection. And they love the idea. They love the concept.
What is that called, like tectonics? Or
tectonic plates, yeah. So I researched tectonic plates. I showed it to the designers. We did that. And you know what? That ended up being the logo they chose. Notice that it's in the middle of the presentation. So they combine one mark with that logo, and it's beautiful. I mean, if you look at it in the execution, I mean, I'm obviously biased, but if you look at it in the execution, I don't know why we're showing all these.
I believe you're the one piloting.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going on autopilot.
You're like, I don't know why we're showing it, but you're the one doing it.
But the reason or the point I wanted to show that was the point. That from the painting, from the brand attributes, combining this hand-done language with a logo mark, came that identity. And it was all hand-done.
Hey, are there any other questions? Because I have a whole list
of
of questions here.
Go to the questions.
Go ahead.
But I was going to ask you guys if you maybe pull up the brand attributes from Core or something like that, an example. Vedran is asking if you can show how your strategy looks. You might be tuning in for the first time.
Okay, here,
we both can show it.
Chris, you show it because yours looks prettier.
Okay, sure.
Or a customer.
You calling me pretty? Here, I got it.
I called you pretty. Oh, no, I called your presentations prettier.
So this is what, if you run...
For Trojan.
This is for Trojan here. So we use 5 columns: culture, defining the brand through the culture, the customer, what the voice should sound like, how you make your clients' customers feel, and the impact it has on their lives. And then what makes them different, the radical differentiation, if you're reading Marty Newman.
X Factor.
We call it X Factor.
And Christo came up with that.
X factor. So this is what makes them different. And so when you run it like that, that's what the strategy looks like. And then this show was about taking these words and translating
them,
into a
yeah.
visual thing. You didn't talk about the color theory,
Oh,
color
yes.
psychology.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Right?
But
you have to say it fast.
Show the brand attributes real quick, and I'll find the color theory where you're doing that.
All right. Well, I'm going to use this moment then to just rattle off this question from one of our viewers is, you know, how should you react when the client gives you no input and waits for you to throw things on the table? And that's a typical approach that you're going to have if you do it like the way you were taught how to do it in school. You're going to arrive and I guess you're hopeful that you're going to delightfully surprise the client. And when you put things on the table, they're silent. And why is that? Because you haven't done any scaffolding towards the design. It's coming out of left field, so the reaction you're going to get.
But they're also not expecting it. You know, that's to be fair to the client. And if you didn't set up a process beforehand, they don't know what the hell's going to happen.
But that's kind of typically
we show
how
them
we're
a project plan, and we show them here's when everything is going to happen. We show them what exercise we're going to do in the project roadmap, in the proposal. You set it up. Actually, in the proposal, there's a timeline for when they're giving feedback. And there's a thing in the contract that says that if they don't get feedback within 48 hours, they get charged. They get a change request. Do you think they're going to actually do that? So it's all tied to how you package your practice, and it's all tied to how tight that is. So
okay, so hold on. Just so that you guys that are watching, make sure that they understand that. So what you're saying is you've documented your process.
Correct.
First of all, you have a process. You formalized it.
You assume you have
You've
one.
documented it.
Yes.
And then now you share that with the client before you start working so they have an idea, a roadmap as to how this is going to work.
That's right.
So they'll know X number of weeks in, it's going to look like this, and it's because you follow a very predictable
Boise
process.
has a question.
Boise.
So I have a question. I think I know the answer, but I want to hear you guys say it.
I like
You
the
guys have
husky voice there. It's
do you
very
guys have
sexy.
a different approach in improvising with the client, because you don't want to do too much work and then come in with some idea. Sort of like going on a first date, you don't want to go in with some idea how the date's going to go. You want to let it organically.
You want it to
ride.
flow, right?
The romanticism of the dance with the client. So I assume, Jose, you're a little bit more shoot from the hip, and I assume, Chris, maybe you come in with a couple of more concrete concepts. Is that accurate, or and how would you guys expand?
Excellent
Actually,
question.
He's better than me at it.
Excellent question.
He's better on first dates with the client than I am.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Let's repeat the question. Can you summarize?
So the summary of the question is, you know, how much of it do you force the client to
Adhere to?
Adhere to a structure,
Right.
Both in the meetings or in the work sessions, and how much do you let it flow?
Right. So what
in the
he asked
universe.
it to both of us, and so why don't you answer, and then I'll do it.
And
then we got to wrap
so
up, I
ADD,
believe.
I am so ADD that it's not even funny. So I make it a point. I say, look, I'm really ADD. We need to keep this meeting on track. I'm going to time box everything, and here's the agenda. Is that okay with you? The clients appreciate that. Now, I'll let it go loose for like a minute or two, and I'll flow it, and then I'll reel it in, but really smooth. Most people are fearful of controlling the room. So, of course, you don't want to be a total dick and like move things along like Chris Do does during meetings. But like, next, we're going next. But you want to make it move fast, and I do not compromise.
You're using my name for every single
I'm using
word,
the Lord's
every
name
slur.
in vain.
It's like everything.
No, but
you
how
get.
do you do it? How do you do it?
You know,
It's a good question.
The very first meeting, I like that question a lot because I have some structure. I kind of know where it needs to go, but then I let it flow. You guys were talking about scoping out, prospecting, understanding, and profiling your potential client, date, or whatever it is. I just come there. I'm just into them at that moment in time. I just quiet everything and I'm into them. So I have a little bit of structure. The questions I presented earlier were the exact questions I use. What are your challenges right now? Where do you see growth? And I just listen and I write. And more often than not, and you and I know this, I don't want to out you on this, but we've seen therapists, when somebody is listening to you and kind of understanding, like really listening, it feels great on this side of it.
That's right.
And then they're able to just put connections to things you already knew, but you haven't said aloud to another human being.
Connecting those dots, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what happens when they connect those dots for you? You're like, you're amazing. How much do I owe you?
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah,
And
I
all
mean-
you've done is listen. And that's what I do.
It's totally. Chris Do should run like one of those dating like secrets websites.
It's just-
yeah.
I'm a master
it's-
with ladies. That's the
He's
real
good.
reason
he's
why.
So good. He's good. He's very
Ridiculous.
He's popular at lunch when we go out here in Santa Monica. But all right, so here's one last thing since we are over time. So we're a little bit over time.
We're over time.
I hope your wife doesn't watch this episode. So there was a question. Is there any other questions? I want to show one thing real quick. Bring up this.
Oh, he's going to show his
I'm pointing at
color
it.
theory.
So one question also is tying things to research. So for example, this is an identity for an organization that I was doing, And I did two things. One, they do bionics.
Bionics?
Yeah.
Like the Bionic Man?
Yeah. This Alfred Mann Foundation, where this is where the Bionic Man is made.
Wow.
If it were ever to be made. They make prosthetics, they make
Right.
a lot of stuff. So bionics, the study of how human animals perform, et cetera, et cetera. So you see that wave that was from a symbol representing from research to market. All that I wrote out of like...
That's like a sine wave?
Yes, it's a sine wave, but they're engineers. I'm talking to engineers. They love this. So
Hey, you're going to talk about color theory?
their logo ended up looking like that. So here's the color theory. Primary identity colors that I was proposing. I took it from the web. I researched color theory. Dark orange, it can mean XYZ. Red orange, it means, desire, domination, aggression. So the point is, I said the orange needs to be lighter. They had a very dark orange, and I showed them that the meaning of those colors in a psychological context was negative. And I said, let's bring it to
It's
more
true, though.
positive.
And red orange also, Jose.
The psychology here.
Red orange as well. The McDonald's red orange
Yep.
actually makes you hungry.
It does. So yellow, all those things
You gotta
have.
be tricky with that, right?
If you watch the worst show in history, which I hate watching, which is
Let's stay focused on color
Look at the
theory.
screen again. Color,
Color theory.
So here's a website, very ugly
you zoom in?
website.
Command Shift first.
Command Shift. So
Yeah, there you
changing minds, the meaning of colors, and you're like, which website do I use? Most of them say the same stuff. So red, warmth, love, anger. So look at your brand attributes. And if they're in there, you use them.
So here's the thing. I love how you use the brand attributes and you translate them to colors. And I like the way you even describe colors. It's
Yeah.
not a place where I come from because that's like little hoo-hoo for me.
It is a little hoo-hoo.
Because I asked
It's
my...
woo-woo, not hoo-hoo.
Hoo-hoo. What is hoo-hoo then?
Oh,
Woo-woo?
yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Moving on.
Stay focused. Stay focused. All right. So here's the thing. Students all the time will say, oh, that color communicates this concept. And I say, well, what does red communicate to them? Murder, violence, aggression, or does it mean passion, love?
Yeah.
Well,
You can find whichever you want it to be.
yeah, so then it doesn't mean anything.
But if you make red a little darker and it looks like blood, then it's
I think
like
it's
murder.
context.
It's context. Totally context.
Red with a dot with vampire teeth, then I understand what that is.
It's visual communications.
Right. So, but I love this approach because you come up with some pretty unexpected color combinations.
You do, and it really pushes the design forward. So, in conclusion,
What is the conclusion? Wrap this up, dude.
I'm not sure. So, look, I'll be Christo again, and I'll
Like
do
clear
a little
and
bit of a
concise?
summary. Clear and concise.
All right.
Have
just
a
wanna
process that
find
allows
that.
you to scaffold.
Foreplay.
We're switching roles. That allows you to go step by step into what the decision is that you're going to make, into the design, so that it doesn't come across arbitrary. That's it. If you don't have a process, there's some links below with some examples, some free videos here on YouTube that you can see, or you can watch myself doing some of these exercises that Chris was showing, and just ask us, hi, how do I do this? We're more than happy to help. Anyhow.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in live. Thank you to the audience, everybody.
Yay! Thanks for coming, guys. Hopefully next week we'll have 17 people. Our goal is 17.
Hey, tell your
Modest
friends. Tell your
expectations.
friends. Subscribe to the channel down here below, or we'll put a box somewhere here in the corner.
Waving by.
I'm trying to figure out where we're
Have
gonna
it
put
dance on the screen. Like the Taiwanese shows, they have the graphics bouncing and all over the
We
place.
should be like an
It's
Asian
hilarious.
game show. That should be like we should have that sound effect. But
All right.
make sure that you
Jose
tell your
said,
friends about watching
shut
the
the
show.
F up. Let's
All right,
go.
I'll shut the F up.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks. All right. So we didn't
clicking
get
back to